Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Have you ever done this kind of podcast before?
Not like live and not like films as much. Well, like, I guess it's been filmed like when there's Zoom meetings or whatever, but
Well, I did.
Yeah,
I did one with
not live.
Dennis yesterday, and I've done one with other people, and I appreciate the in-person one so much more. And the reason I started doing video was because I listen to a lot of audiobooks because the audiobooks are so expensive. It's insane.
yeah.
And so I got turned on to podcasts because they're basically free. And the ones I find myself drawn to are the ones, the videos. So that's why I put the camera there.
Yeah,
Because
I
that's
think
what
that
I
looks
like
good.
watching them.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Tell us about yourself for anyone who's never met you before.
Okay, I'm Tanya. I grew up in southern Alberta on a grain farm. So our family's been there for quite a lengthy time. So I was kind of born and raised in the farming industry. I went to school and got an education degree and a biology degree. So I'm also a teacher by trade.
Here in Calgary?
Not in Calgary, but in the foothills, like
Okay.
just south. So I'm not actually currently teaching at the moment, but I was teaching up until mid-COVID. And got to experience teaching online and not being in the classroom with my kids and kind of the heartache of going to school that way. And now I'm just with our family farm, helping on the family farm where it's needed, and harvest is coming up quick, and that's kind of my favorite time of the year, so I get quite excited about that part.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I know my brother, my younger brother, Kenny, and Jess, his wife, they have a small kind of, I want to say hobby farm. I don't know if they like me to use that word, but
Yeah.
they got some goats and sheep and chickens and cows, and so it's not, but my mom lives on the island, and she flies out about this time every year and hangs around for a couple months at least.
Oh, yeah.
Just to help
Yeah.
around the farm.
It's a pretty awesome time of year. I think as farmers too, you're like so tied to the land that this is kind of like your, I don't know, it's like the part that fills your bucket, hopefully, like most of the time, fills your bucket. Like you put in all this hard work and now you get to kind of reap
For
the
sure.
rewards.
But we didn't grow up on farms or anything. They bought it. They had about,
Oh, and just jumped into
I
it.
think it's about 4 or 5 years ago, just to get out of town and maybe live differently, and they've just fallen right in love with it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, so I'm really pleased for them. I talked to my wife, Sweet Marie, and she's like, oh man, living out in the middle of nowhere. And she goes, I don't know it's for me, but she goes, I'm happy it's for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, do you want to just jump right into why I want to talk to you?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So I reached out to you, I feel like it was pretty recently, because you guys have been on my mind for a while now, and I thought, oh my God, I can't get an email together, so I just blasted off a message, and it was that simple, because I've been following you and the Alberta Prosperity Project, the emails and different social medias,
Right.
and I really appreciate everything you're doing in terms of educating people. So I would like to know, I guess, how did you get involved?
Oh, well, thank you for that. First of
Yeah.
all, we have like an amazing group of volunteers, and we've onboarded so many volunteers in the last couple months, especially since the federal election, that have like amazing skill sets. So they are volunteering where their skill set serves them, and it's serving us in a big way. I guess I started it was like during COVID when people were asking questions and feeling like they couldn't ask questions. And that just makes me want to ask more questions about why I can't ask questions.
Yeah.
So I had kind of that inquiring mind to start with. And I went to an Alberta Prosperity Project event. That was my first one. I volunteered there just as kind of a host and helping out there. And that was the first time I heard Dr. Dennis Modry speak. And he was talking about a sovereign Alberta, which were words that I hadn't even really heard at that time. Like a sovereign Alberta resonated with me. And he was speaking about particularly how a sovereign Alberta, if we'd had certain opportunities for the last decades, how different financially it could have been for our families and for us independently. And one of the stats he shared was that if we hadn't had the National Energy Program of Trudeau Sr. in the 80s, and we hadn't had the transfer taxes that we currently have, the equalization program, we could have lived the last 40 years probably with 8 to 10% flat income tax.
I know, it's the numbers you almost can't even believe them.
Yeah, and like you hear the numbers, but you actually have to register those and take those in. Like, what would that have actually meant to your family? Like people that have parents that are retirement age now, could they have retired much earlier? Could they have gone on more bucket list trips? Could your family have afforded more things? Could you have lived without fear of, buying groceries each week because they're so expensive now? Like things could have been so different. So that was kind of like a light bulb for me that we're living this way because we're patriotic and we're told that we need to be part of the team and we're doing all this. But do we need to do it this way, or is there a better way? Could we do things better? We're like an ingenious, smart group. We need to do better.
Oh my gosh, I get so frustrated when as soon as you start these conversations, people almost want to point fingers and say, well, we could be on Team Canada, and they want to, I don't know, almost like bully you into either you're all or none kind of thing on Canada. And I'm like, well, surely that can't be true. Like, we can still be patriotic Canadians and love our country and be, what does Danielle Smith always say, a strong Alberta and a united Canada, or an independent, or whatever word she uses,
Yeah.
Like, why does it have to be this polarizing left and right issue? Like, how do you navigate some of those conversations yourself?
I think it used to be less polarizing a little while back because I was part of rebranding the APP and redoing the website and putting more educational content out there. And I was pretty adamant that, we should stick with the slogan that we're for a sovereign Alberta within or without Canada. And within came first. And then if that couldn't be accomplished, then we could move to without. And then the last federal election happened, and it was quickly evident that we couldn't do within Canada. Nothing was going to change. I know that our premier is making, steps and requests to try to change things, and I'm quite a big fan of hers. I love the strong, bold woman that she is. Yeah,
Likewise.
I've supported her all along. I just don't feel that there's a Canada that's actually going to respond to her and respond to what Alberta is requesting.
But if the whole country of Canada is not set up for an Alberta, like a independent Alberta, like how do you make these things happen? Like, if you look at the way they distribute federal seats, or you look at even where all the centralized power is in Ottawa, and even some of the recent acts between, the truckers, COVID, like all these kind of different polarizing issues independently, like they feel like they're slowly coming together with the last federal election, but is that enough to be a catalyst to keep pushing this issue forward, or will it go away in another few years again?
I hope it's a catalyst for people to question our place within Canada, because it should be clear at this point that Canada's not going to work with us. If you can go back to when we were first joining Confederation in 1905, we were brought in to help fund the East. That was the premise of why we were in Confederation. I don't think it's really changed anywhere along the way.
But I don't think even that concept, I don't think people appreciate the historical idea behind Alberta and Saskatchewan, and they were meant to be that breadbasket for
and it's
Eastern
good you bring
Canada.
up Saskatchewan, because lots of people are put off by this idea of Alberta possibly separating from Canada, because what about Saskatchewan? What about this province? What about this province? It's not for Alberta to take care of the entire country during this process. We have a process in Alberta that we can use a citizens' initiative and then follow the Constitution with the Clarity Act to legally separate. If we do that, I don't believe that Saskatchewan is very far behind us. They have a very big independence movement as well. Once you've had those votes, who knows, maybe during the negotiation phase of what that new sovereign nation looks like, maybe Alberta and Saskatchewan do join together and form the Buffalo country, or
so I would like that
with a number of provinces. I think that it's actually a step with Alberta separating that could maybe save Canada. There's no saving Canada right now. We have a very strong socialist mentality. We take wealth from one, we give it to the have-nots. We don't encourage ingenuity. We don't encourage that workforce, that hard-driven grit that we have here in Alberta. So I think that if we pulled out, maybe all the other domino effects would occur because of that, and Canada could be stronger with independent nations.
Yeah, so it's all about more than promoting a conversation within other provinces. It could be as like almost creating a usable roadmap of what that might look like for other provinces to follow us.
Yeah, and what a hardworking, capitalist, prosperous, freedom-driven economy could look like.
Yeah. I worked in Saskatchewan for about a year and a half on a pipeline project, and in that period of time, I gotta say, I just fell right in love with it.
Yeah.
And then I started to pay attention a little bit more to it when, Brad Wall was there, and now Scott
Love him,
Moe,
big fan
who
of
I'm
him
an
too.
enormous admirer of. So that's why even when I talked to Dennis yesterday, I found myself keep wanting to bring up Saskatchewan, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I should probably bring up Northeast BC too, because there's a lot of similar sentiments amongst those different groups, and all they're captured in these other provinces. even northwestern Ontario. I have my family's from there, and they're not in a negative way necessarily, but they do clarify they're from northwestern Ontario because Ontario does have its own little view that's been put on it by Western Canadians. Because again, this all goes back to Ontario and populations and Ottawa and stuff like that.
Yeah, it goes back to Ottawa where the control is. Yeah.
So how do you bridge conversations with people? Because you meet people all the time, Tanya, that don't see the same way perhaps you do or I do.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
They see it in a slightly different way, or a completely opposite too, which is, again, it's not a right or wrong thing. It's an educational thing.
Yeah.
That's all you're trying to do is educate people.
Trying to educate and just make them ask some questions.
Yeah,
maybe contemplate a little bit.
So how do you navigate some of those conversations with people who might not see it the same way?
I think the biggest thing to remember is to try to exercise some civil discourse. Because people are so used to, especially with social media and keyboard warriors, like just jumping in and lambasting others and saying things you would never say to their face.
Yes.
Especially in face-to-face conversations, which I find most useful. It's just having that civil discourse that we can respectfully disagree. I'm willing to listen to you. You're willing to listen to me. We might come up with a better idea yet by listening to each other. So approaching it that way.
Yeah, it's just easier said than done sometimes than others, and I wish we could get back to, I always use the word constructive dialogue, where you can have an actual conversations and be okay that you're not aligned, and it's tough to do unless it comes from a place of comfortability, familiarity, like friends that you're coming from a place of love and it's okay.
Right.
Outside of that situation, it's tough to have some of those conversations.
Yeah, I think that my favorite part so far of like doing some of the public speaking for APP is not even just the events where you're like addressing the crowd, but it's the aftermath when people feel like, okay, this is someone I'm comfortable now after hearing speak that I can come and ask me questions. And you can ask me hard questions, and if I don't know the answers,
you'll say,
I don't know the answers. There's someone that will know the answer, and I'll try to help direct you to that. But hearing what they have to say and what their concerns are, because this is a scary conversation. We've never pushed this hard for independence before and been this close. But if you look historically, it's been a big topic that's been on our radar for many, many decades. And lots of different governments have done lots of different things to try to, open the discussion and educate. And we've had like the firewall letters, and we've had the reform parties, and we've had all different kinds of movements, independence parties. And now it's serious. Like we're going to have a referendum on this question, hopefully in the spring, depending on how much things get held up and how many loopholes get thrown at us. But this question is coming to Albertans, so I just hope that they're willing to engage in some dialogue and get educated so that when they have to make that decision and vote on this, they're doing it in a way that's going to best serve their province of Alberta that we all adore, their families, and their communities.
But I think you hit it right in the head. It's the educating.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, again, myself included, I do have a lot of preconceived notions and ideas and, dare I say, even opinions sometimes about things I don't really know a lot about. And
one thing with that, like we created the fiscal plan of what it costs to run Alberta now and what it would cost a sovereign Alberta. And they consulted economists and lawyers and like tried to be very thorough when they're doing these numbers so that we could put it out there to the public just to give you an idea of what it costs us now to be in Alberta and what it could cost us and how much more beneficial it would be to be in Alberta on our own 2 feet. And I've had conversations with some good friends even that hadn't read that but immediately asked me, well, who was the economist that looked after that? Was it any of the big names? Was it one of the people that I know? Was it someone like in my social circles that I travel in? I was like, honestly, I don't know, but you can take this document and you can dissect it as much as you want to and take it to any economist you want to and then give the feedback. That's what APP is asking. Look at this document. If there's some obvious flaw, let's talk about it and figure out what numbers should we be using or how could this be better or what could be a plan going forwards. It's just a talking point, like just a starting place for discussion. But people are so quick to like jump on you about.
Again, I think we all have our own biases, whether we know it or not, and we lead with some of those things, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you can be a wonderful advocate for this or any conversation because you are approachable, Tanya, and it's probably how you're built as your personality, but you know, your professional life is probably polished up as well to have some of these
I
conversations.
think, yeah, teaching has helped a lot with
I'm
that too.
sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, notwithstanding that, like people might not be as ready to listen to you or have those conversations if you're coming off too hard almost.
Yeah.
Rather than an educator, you're coming off as more of a, this is what I think, this is the right thing, get on board or get out of the way. You know, that's not been, and
Right.
all the emails I've read from APP, it's not been that. It's literally educational post after educational, and I love that approach you guys
I
are
think it
taking.
comes from a love of Albertans
Yeah.
that I feel like I see something that could be so much better
Mm-hmm.
for you and your family and for every single Albertan that I want you to be able to have the gift of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's some education so that you can make that decision. And
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that you would, side with us and vote yes to the referendum question
Mm-hmm.
on sovereignty. And if not, I just hope you're educated and you stand with your no vote then.
Yeah, I like that. I hope it doesn't cause a division amongst people and friends and family for what we saw of stuff like COVID's a great example. I'm so disappointed about how I saw circles of friends and long-time circles of
Those
friends
were dark days.
get separated. And you know what, Tanya, some of those divisions haven't healed and they've just stopped being friends. So
Yeah.
I certainly hope, because I think all I'm hopeful for is a transparent and open conversation, because I would love it if everyone had all the information, hopefully took time to educate themselves and made their decision accordingly. Because I know not everyone will agree,
Right.
and I'm okay with that. But as long as everyone takes the time to educate themselves and makes a decision that they're confident with and they can live with, either way.
Right. Yeah, I think what was missing during COVID was that civil discourse.
Yeah.
We weren't allowed to ask questions. We weren't felt like we were being heard. And we didn't have that discussion back and forth. So hopefully we've learned from that. I don't think there's lots of people that want to go back to those days and that unrest and that angst and attacking each other. So let's just actually
I hope
talk
not.
about it and see is this the best path forward? Do you have a reason why you think it's not? Then let's talk about it because maybe there's something we haven't considered.
Yeah. It's so sad, like the way we're becoming more polarized as a society. And this is a good example where we're kind of forced into two camps. And unfortunately, a lot of these fall along political lines.
Yeah.
And I wish it wasn't the case. And I don't know how to get away from that.
What if we could create a sovereign nation that didn't have to fall in political lines? What if we brought power back to the people and had something more of a direct democracy where every major issue was decided by the people in a referendum or something like that? Like that's another topic that we have, and I think that's a push for choosing a sovereign Alberta and independent Alberta.
Yeah.
It's because we could create a whole new system. We have like the world's information at our fingertips, and we've seen what every other country in history has done. So now we can take all the best parts of that very quickly even and create something that is the best. That's brand new maybe too.
Man, I hope so.
Like to me, it's just super exciting, the possibilities. The financial part is a big driving part of it because I want our families to not be suffering so much and to not be giving away. Like, can I share some stats even with you that
The more you can share, the better. 100%.
one of the big ones I think is the transfer payments. So we give a bunch of money to the government and the government gives some back for us to operate and to fund some of our services. But every year Alberta gives between 20 and 28 billion dollars to the federal government that we get nothing back in from services. That just goes away. So 14 billion of that goes to Quebec and then it gets divvied up. That works out to be $6,000 per Albertan. So man, woman, child. If you have like an average family of four, that's $24,000 a household is giving away that they're not getting anything back in services for. There's a lot of families that could use an extra $24,000.
Oh my God.
That's wild.
So of the conversations I've had with my friends, you know, one thing that comes up all the time is recently the Doge thing down in the U.S. where there's some unearthing of some money that gets spent that we can't see.
Yeah.
With my friends, we talk about the same thing. So we pay, you know, provincial tax, federal employment tax. We feel like we just do not have control over how that is spent. And maybe that's what you're describing. So we're okay with spending some of this money. We're even okay up to a point with taxes.
Yeah, I think
to
most
fund
people
certain
are.
different social safety networks, the police, fire department. So we're okay with it up to a point.
Yeah.
But it's that other stuff where we can't see that's getting spent, perhaps goes to the federal government and spent outside the country. That's where people are having some heartburn right now. So
Yeah.
if you're saying if we can keep that money inside the province, what amazing things we could do.
And even within our government and all the levels of government and bureaucracy, like we mismanage and overspend so much. We could pare it down, but there's no government that ever gets elected that says, hey, I'm going to make government smaller, and then actually makes it smaller. Like, that's never going to happen unless we create something new.
Pierre just lost his opportunity under that exact mandate or platform to basically remove some of the inefficiencies and potentially even reduce some size of government departments.
Yeah.
You know, is that true or not? I don't know, but that sounds feasible to me, running in Ottawa. His thing is next week in my brother's riding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. On the long ballot.
Yeah.
So in APP, with our fiscal document, the first year after becoming a sovereign nation, we could cut income taxes by half. And by year 5, we could possibly do away with income tax altogether.
We need that, like, now. Like, I talk to people every day, they're hurting, Tanya.
Yeah, because right now the average Albertan makes, I think our numbers show $78,000. And that gives you $31,000 of buying power. After you've paid your taxes and your tax on tax and tax on tax and tax, you have $31,000 of buying power with that. APP's numbers say that after a couple of years in a sovereign nation, we would have $71,000 of buying power with that $78,000 wage. It's like over doubling your income.
For sure.
Like, there's so much waste, and then there's so much revenue you could have from our natural resources that we're not using because our Team Canada is working against us on so many levels.
For sure. That's one thing that kind of, for me personally, got on my radar real quick because people started, as soon as this last federal election came out, Danielle, again, I'm a very big admirer her. The response she put out on social media and the news and on her platforms and stuff the next day was so well worded, forceful. I was just so impressed and blown away. It almost gave me chills reading it. But the reaction to that post was the same. People said, "Oh, be on Team Canada. You're down talking to Trump and all this." I'm like, just give us a break here. You know, she's trying to advocate for the people that she's been entrusted.
Yeah,
to take
she's
care
in a tough
of,
spot because she can't make anyone fully happy. All the sides are mad at her. But the way I look at it is that she's actually the leader of a province within Confederation. So there's a certain way that she has to lead being that. She's not
100%.
She's not outside of Confederation right now.
But she had some really good, comments in that and subsequent ones where she's like, okay, well, where was Team Canada when you were all unilaterally canceling all these projects that would have benefited Alberta? The one that's come up a lot is Northern Gateway Project. Very personal to me because I was on it for a few years, and we were, the NEB at the time before it became the CER gave it a positive recommendation, and I remember being in the office and Harper accepted that positive recommendation for that project, and we bled all over it for a few years. We were going to build it, and then just like that, it went up in smoke.
Yeah.
And so every time she brings up that project, I'm happy. Because like I said, that was really, it was privately funded, great project, ready to go, shovels in the ground, engineering, everything. And just like that, went up in smoke. Unilaterally by our friend.
And for people who were like opposed to Alberta separating, they'll bring that up and say, well, that Carney's going to allow us to have pipelines, or he's going to reverse the tanker ban, or he's going to do this. I'm like, but is that enough? Or is that something that's just going to be flipped a switch again later on? Or is like our bar set so low right now that you get one pipeline and then everyone's like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy, I'm so glad. Well, that doesn't end the transfer payments. That doesn't end like our place within Constitution. It doesn't end the voting prejudice that's out there in the East, and we don't get representation out this way. Like, none of that changes, because those things all require a change to the Constitution.
For sure.
And that will never happen.
And most of the conversations that I've had with people is, pipelines don't magically appear. It's a very arguably quite onerous regulatory environment we've created for ourselves here in Canada. But guess what? Everyone keeps bringing up, we have the Pipeline Act. We could be doing that now, and yet we're not. So the fact that some pipelines are magically, okay, let's get going, shovels in the ground. Well, I'm not a cynical person by nature, but I'll believe it when I see it, for sure.
Yeah.
That's all I got, Tanya.
That's it.
Yeah.
Pipelines, I know. And with the increase in pipelines and using some of our natural resources, I know like the environmentalists would argue so much against that, but I do believe that Alberta is one of like the smartest, hardest working groups on the planet. Like we've created technology that can provide the most ethical, sustainable, consistent energy resource.
Sure.
And we're being persecuted for it by our own country. Other people will argue against separation because we're landlocked. They say we're landlocked. We are freaking landlocked right now by our own country.
I know.
Like Team Canada is landlocking us.
I know, it's crazy.
If we were independent, Canada would want access still to the West Coast, to the Port of Vancouver. They'd want access to our airspace, our rail lines, our highways. Like we've got negotiation powers and like an extreme amount of leverage, I would think.
Yeah.
Could actually negotiate from a position of strength and
Oh my gosh, I know.
not just be begging for breadcrumbs.
It's so bizarre when every time I turn on my phone, I was like, oh, these two premiers have made some sort of deal to trade or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Like, why are we even having these conversations? We're one country. Like, we've actually created obstacles and barriers for trade in our own country.
Yeah.
Like, how is this possible?
That is a huge one.
And again, getting back to the regulatory environment we've created this issue, and to try to unwind it and unravel it, whether it's through reduced inefficiencies or even reduced personnel in some of these departments, I would say it's easier said than done. Because not many people aren't going to go down kicking and screaming, if they've
Right.
worked in those groups for a long time.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we're actually making much progress. And again, when you look at it historically, like at all the different things, the firewall letter and all those things, people have been advocating for a better place within Confederation, but I don't think it's been very successful, and I can't see it ever happening.
Well, I would say, what are your final thoughts before I let you go today that you can share?
So I guess I would hope that people would not come into this with anger. I understand coming into it with like fear and hesitancy, rightfully so. It's probably the most major decision that Albertans will make in our lifetime. But come into it with some inquiry and questions and a willingness to listen and to learn to each other back and forth. And hopefully they will see that there's some major benefits, that this is an amazing opportunity, and probably the only opportunity Alberta will have to make this decision to stand on our own 2 feet. And I just think, like, how amazing would that be for my kids to tell their kids that this was a generation that actually stood up and made the difference and made change for Alberta and created the most prosperous sovereign nation in the world. Like that's our opportunity right now.
Great stuff. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you and appreciate your time today.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate being here.